As the country begins to reopen amidst the still present threat of COVID-19, Southampton City Council have continued to install a series of pop-up lanes along key corridors within the city. Today we'll be looking at the first western section of SCN4, linking Bannister Park to Upper Shirley and Bassett. This first section of SCN4 runs along the western edge of Southampton Common, parallel with SCN5 on the eastern edge. This pop-up section begins at the junction of Archers Road and continues northbound for just over 2 kilometres until the mini roundabout with Burgess Road. However, the creation of this route has not been without controversy. On-street parking has been completely removed for the entire length of this pop-up lane and replaced with double yellow lines. Visitors to the common are encouraged to park on Cemetery Road or one of the nearby residential streets, though blue badge spaces have been created close to the junctions of Bellemoor Road, Wilton Road and Raymond Road. There have been many vocal complaints from local residents, opposition councillors and neighbouring MP Royston Smith regarding the impact on visitors to the common, particularly on those using blue badges. However, there has been an equally vocal response from other city residents supporting this scheme, with positive responses on the council's commonplace map typically having a higher vote count than negative feedback. However, in both cases, this is a crude measure of judging opinion, so it will be interesting to see how the council progresses with this scheme. For the council's part, their study concludes that there is enough space for those residential streets to handle the number of cars displaced from Hill Lane. From my own personal observations today, Bellemoor Road and Warwick Road only seemed marginally busier than a typical Saturday, and not exactly the scene of gridlock that some voices have exclaimed. However, perhaps I'd need to look again on a day that's a bit less grey and drizzly. For today's video, I will be riding downhill from Burgess Road to Archers Road. We begin at the mini roundabout with Burgess Road and at the scene of the controversy. Double yellow lines have been painted on both sides of the road, removing parking from a reasonably well used stretch. However, this is now a huge improvement for the safety of both those on bikes and those on foot. You no longer have to be aware of the door zone and people emerging from in between parked cars, while the lane also gives cars extra room to overtake. For pedestrians, it means that social distancing is now possible on a footpath that's barely a metre wide. With a bit of care, pedestrians can now step out into the cycle lane to pass around someone coming the other way. In my personal opinion, the double yellow lines are a net positive and will become even more useful in winter since the alternative route through the common is unlit. As for the junction with Burgess Road and Winchester Road, they will absolutely need redesigning if this route is made permanent, as both roundabouts are particularly dangerous. I visit this area once a week as part of my shopping trip, and often see many close calls between cars not giving way, so you can imagine how much more dangerous this is for those on bikes. I've also nearly been run over a few times by cars not stopping at the Burgess Road zebra crossing. As we reach the traffic lights at Bellemoor Road, we can see the route heading across onto the common, which will eventually be designated as part of route SCN8. There's an advanced stop line here for right turns, but a protected junction would be nice to have in the future. There is enough room for it if the central traffic lights are moved. As with the pop-up sections of the SCN5 route, there's currently no light segregation. This is apparently due to a shortage of materials as pop-up cycle lanes and widened pavements emerge throughout the UK. The cones along the upper part of Bassett Avenue have also been removed, leaving just a painted line to define the lane. I hope that these supply issues are resolved in time, as some protection would be very welcome. As we approach Radway Road, the lane temporarily disappears. The problem here is the traffic islands, which legally do not give enough room for a cycle lane at the pinch points. There is more than enough space to create safe lanes, as indicated by the wasted space in the hatched road markings, but this would require the removal of the refuge islands in the middle of the road, which is a bit beyond the current scope of cheap but quick to implement cycleways. Understandable, but this would absolutely have to change if the route is made permanent. Riders are in much greater danger of being close past or worse on this stretch. After the Wilton Road mini roundabout, the lane returns, although the width of the road also narrows. The central divider line has been removed from the road, and the mandatory solid line turns into an advisory dashed line. This is more than likely a legal requirement owing to the reduced road width, though again, with some rearrangements of the footway and verge, there is enough room to create a separated lane on both sides. One nice thing, the drain covers have some paint, making them easier to spot. This is also the case with the SCN4 pop-up lane. Going past Raymond Road, we revert to an existing advisory lane southbound. A new advisory lane has been painted northbound, and the central lane markings have been removed. Again, while there's little protection from passing traffic, the double yellow lines means that there's little danger of having to manoeuvre around any parked cars. As we approach Archers Road, the lane comes to an end. There's no marking south of here, though the junction with Wilton Road is only a short distance ahead. However, there is a reasonable sized advanced stop area to ensure that you are seen by motorists at the junction. There is a lot of space in the middle of this junction, so perhaps there is room to turn this into a protected junction with sideways links along Archers Road to SCN4 on the avenue and the future SCN3 on Shirley Road. So in summary, ridership on this route over the coming weeks will be key to determining whether it stays or goes. Overall, it was pleasant, and I have to say I prefer using the cycle lane towards the top of Hill Lane instead of the common, as I don't have to worry about coming into conflict with pedestrians or dogs. There are still a couple of barriers which may deter some less confident riders. For example, the lane ending at a dangerous mini roundabout at the top, and no through route to Central Station after Archers Road. Some people online have also queried its usefulness, given that SCN4 runs parallel on the other side of the common. However, for those living in Upper Shirley, this route offers a much safer alternative compared to the extremely busy and narrow Shirley Road, a route which will require much more extensive changes to make safe. The debate on this route is far from over, particularly on the section north of Bellemoor Road. In time we will learn what the council plans to do with the £245,000 it has received from the government's Emergency Active Travel Fund. But for now, the choice for bicycle riders around western Southampton is clear. Use it or lose it.